Can you guys hear me on this thing?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, I can.
Hello, Madam Mayor.
Hello, how are you?
I'm wonderful.
Good. So now, Olivia, are you ready for us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. We will call to order the Town of Lake Lure Marine Commission special meeting Tuesday, September the 14th at 4 p.m. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda? And if not, do I hear a motion to accept the agenda as written?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make an adjustment for new business. I'd like to add item C, discussion regarding the concession agreement for Lake Lure Tours for opening the beach in the winter season, and would like to have a discussion about that and possibly a motion if we reach consensus.
All right, so it blipped out a little bit. Was it a discussion regarding the concession for Lake Lure Tours opening of the beach?
Yes, in the winter season.
All right, thank you, Patrick. Are there any other additions or changes? Do you hear a motion then to accept the agenda as amended?
I'll make that motion, John Moore.
Madam Mayor, I second it.
All in favor, if you'll please state your name since we're on Zoom.
Bryant, aye.
Uriel, aye.
Gilby, aye.
Moore, aye.
Then the agenda stands adopted as amended. We will now move to our public comment section. Anyone in the public is invited to speak. If you joined us by Zoom, we hope you have. Please keep your comments limited to 5 minutes or less. If you wish to speak, you will need to unmute your phone and state your name and address. Comments may also be submitted for future reference in writing to the town clerk at least 1 hour prior to the meeting. Do we have anyone in the public who wishes to make a comment at this time? Olivia, have you received any prior notices from anyone that they wish to speak?
No, not that I'm aware of.
All right. We will assume then that no one at this point is desirous to speak under public comment. And we will move on to section 4, which is the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to accept the consent agenda as written?
Madam Mayor, I make the motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Bryant, aye.
Uriel, aye.
Gilby, aye.
Moore, aye.
Consent agenda stands accepted as written. We have no unfinished business. Our 2 items under new business are a request from Mr. Fred Stepp to appeal a civil citation. A. B, we have 3 items, excuse me. B, a request from Michael Clay Mcgraw to appeal a civil citation. And C, the newly added discussion of the concession for Lake Lure Tours opening the beach in winter season. We will begin with item A, request from Fred Stepp to appeal a civil citation. Is William with us? All right, well, I know that you all have received the information that was in the packet. Do we have anyone from staff, Shannon, who wishes to address these 2? Does Dean wish to address these 2?
I can, Madam Mayor.
All right.
This one here and the next one kind of go hand in hand. I received a phone call back in early June, or an email back in early June of somebody requesting information on fishing guides because they were going to be coming to town to visit Lake Lure and were interested in that. So prior to answering their email, I decided to look on Google just to see what was out there and just kind of be able to send them a link to what's available out there as fishing guides. When I ran across a name that was not in our commercial model, which is Lake Lure Fishing Company. And when I started reading this and went to their website, it talks about them operating a fishing guide service on Lake Lure, and they are not in our commercial model. They have not applied for our commercial model at any time. When I got to looking at this, I identified Fred Stepp on here, and I also identified Clay Mcgraw on here. And the pictures that I give you in your book are copies directly from their online business advertisement. And as you can see, it's a fishing family. It's got Clay Mcgraw on one side, Fred Stepp on the other side. If you read into the narrative of this, it says Clay Mcgraw and Fred Stepp are in this business together. Come fish with them, and so what that you have before you. I did contact Mr. Stepp and asked him to come in, that I was going to issue a citation for them operating a commercial business without having a commercial license on Lake Lure. Fred came in, and Fred has said that this website was used without his permission. His name and his face were used on this website without his permission. I don't know anything to show that to be true or false, other than what I see when I pull up the web page. So I issued Mr. Stepp a $1,500 fine, and to my knowledge, that fine has not been satisfied with the town yet.
Can people actually hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, some of the people are muted, so I can't
We
hear
can
the
all
mayor
hear you.
right now. What do I need to do to be able to hear everybody here?
You should be able to hear everyone.
Okay, I can now. Your mic was muted for some reason.
Okay,
It looks
all
like the
righty.
commissioners is now.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, I stand by the information that I gave Dean. The website and the pictures were built. I never was in contact with the guy that built the website or gave anybody permission to use my information or pictures.
Mr. Stepp, Commissioner Kilby, why do you think this person would take it upon themselves to create that site and put your information in?
I don't think he did it maliciously. You know, I know Clay from around the lake, and I've shared fishing pictures with him before. So I'm not sure why the guy that built the website didn't get in touch with me and ask my permission before adding a bunch of stuff to a website that I have basically had nothing to do with.
And if I may just ask, how long has this website been up?
I didn't even know the website was up until I got a call from Dean. Never seen the website in my life.
Dean, do you happen to know how long this website's been up?
I do not.
Okay.
I just know after I made copies of pictures of the website, it was then taken down.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Are there any other questions from any of the commissioners? Mr. Mcgraw is not with us, I believe. So are there any other questions for Mr. Stepp or any other questions for Dean? Any other discussion?
Mr. Mcgraw is showing on the screen as
On the
being
screen there.
on the Zoom meeting.
And it's one of those things, guys, that I spoke with Clay. It's not something he did maliciously. You know, he was having a website build and he'd planned to guide some, I guess, in the future when he retired from his current business. So it's not anything that he did maliciously to try to defraud me or make profit from, me in any way. So
I'm sure he appreciates your saying that. Mr. McGraw, are you with us? I do not believe he is.
Showing a Michael McGraw, is that the same McGraw?
Yep.
Okay.
It
and
is.
you said-
He just vanished.
Okay.
Imagine. There he is. He moved
How you
over to
doing,
the side.
Oh, there you are. There you are. Thank you. We weren't able to connect with you. Thank you, Mr. McGraw.
Sorry
Was there
about
anything
that.
you would like to say?
I'm just an old country boy from Lake Lewis. This is my first time. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
me
perfectly
too.
all right. Do not worry about it. We've got you now. So if you have anything you'd like to share with the Marine Commission, please feel free to do so.
Well, with reiterating with what Fred said, Fred actually had absolutely nothing to do with the website. And actually that was something after I had gotten done, doing heating and air for the community, I thought about being a guide. And the guy actually put that website up without me knowing it, and actually took money out of my account and put that up. He took it down, so that's why we're here right now.
As I look at the information that Dean provided, Dean, maybe you can, or one of your other fellows can enlighten me a little bit. There's a assumed business name certificate that's dated January 2019, and it's in the name of Lake Lure Fishing Company.
Is that assumed?
I'm sorry?
Is that assumed? You said assumed.
No, right here,
Okay.
right here.
And is that from, okay.
This is, no, I'm asking for a little more clarification on this. What was this for? And is this something that was done at the Rutherford County Courthouse, or?
I'm actually not really sure. I know that both of us, I have never been paid for fishing on Lake Lure. Fred has also not either. Like I said, after I got done and retired from Lake Lure Heating and Air and serving this community, I figured I would retire and possibly do that. And there are steps that you have to take, to do that. So
So you don't know any, so you're not familiar with this, yes, it has your name at the bottom.
well, I'm not familiar with it. Is that something from, where's that from?
It says, Dean, where did you get this?
This is a copy of his license that he's licensed his business with the state. I'm trying to read here in some of the small writing. It's with Rutherford County.
That's
He
Lake Lure.
paid-
Heating
Yeah.
here.
Folks, so let me
He
help
paid-
you out. So that's a document that's recorded by the county. Whenever you start a business, so the county knows that you're operating a business, Rutherford County, you're required to do that because you have to pay subsequent sales tax and everything else to the county for your business. So when you submit that assumed certificate, you are a business in Rutherford County. Doesn't matter if you don't take a dime for it, you are a business in Rutherford County.
Now, are you sure that's not Lake Lure Heating and Air?
Nope, Lake Lure Fishing Company.
It says Lake Lure Fishing Company.
Okay.
Not Clay McGraw.
But I will have to speak on behalf of Fred that he absolutely had nothing to do with this. Absolutely nothing to do with it. The guy that put the website up, he was not supposed to put that up. He did not have Fred's permission whatsoever. He got the pictures from me without me asking Fred. So he should not be involved in this whatsoever.
Okay, are there any other questions or any other discussion?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I have a few questions. So how many boats are involved with the Lake Lure Fishing Company?
0.
Well, how about the boat that's got Lake Lure Fishing Company on the side of it? So at least one, right?
They told Dean told me that I had to get it off the lake and that it could never be put on the lake again. So I sold my boat.
Okay,
That's not, that's not entirely correct. I told him he had to get the boat and the advertisement off of the lake, but until this was rectified or done, that boat could not be used on this lake.
And it hasn't been.
but that boat that was on the lake had an AM sticker, was not registered as a commercial boat, has Lake Lure Fishing Company on the side, a company which is licensed in Rutherford County as a business. I'm just curious, why did you call yourself a company if you're not going to have a business?
Well, you know, I've had a Lake Lure Fishing Company on my boat for about 7 years. So, I mean, we'd never had a problem until this gentleman, which had no permission to put up this website, which Fred had nothing to do with. And also, we've only taken veterans and children, if we've ever taken anybody, not taken a dime from our watershed or any of our people. We have only given back to the people of Lake Lure. If that makes any sense.
Thank you. David, do you have any more questions? You said you had several.
Yeah, I mean, I did a little bit further research. Actually, TripAdvisor had some comments on there. So it's been going for a while. Lots of pictures, lots of folks on TripAdvisor of people that have went out fishing with you. And your position is that you never received money to your registered company in Rutherford.
Not whatsoever. There is no bank account. I've only taken, veterans and children and friends. I've never gotten a dime for anything.
Well, Dean or William, and I suppose Dean can probably do it. Could you clarify for me if it is required in order for you to get a commercial license for your boat that you receive any money, or simply that you are a commercial business?
Just that you're a commercial business.
Okay, thank you.
Well, is there any
Okay,
way that we can rectify this and move forward in some way?
I believe, Dean, please correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the way to rectify this would be to pay the fine. Would that not be correct?
That would be correct.
So
what about me? I mean, where do I stand? Basically, the guy that's responsible for the website told you, like I did, when I
Yes.
came in, I had nothing to do with it.
Correct.
I mean, I don't know what else I need to do to prove my innocence.
Well, it sounds like your recourse would be with Michael. If it's his company and his company had the website up, then, and if it was put up without his permission, then I guess you would both have recourse against the people who put the website up.
Yes, and they actually drafted out of my account, which I don't know how illegal that is. It sounds pretty bad to me, but it was not supposed to be there. It was never intended whatsoever.
So
Reimburse you.
what I'm trying to get at here is literally the person that he's telling you I had nothing to do with any of this. I mean, I could have a website build and put any one of your pictures on it, and you could be in the same situation that I'm in right now. The guy that did it is telling you that I had nothing to do with it.
Correct.
So my thing is, I shouldn't have to pay a fine. I shouldn't be involved in this in any way.
No, sir.
What was your intent for putting those on there?
He did not. That was me.
And what was your intent, Michael, for putting it on there?
My intent, like I had said earlier, one of these days, when I get a little bit older and I want to retire from heating and air, I would like to become a fishing guide again, so there's steps that you have to take. And, like I said, that guy shouldn't have put that on there. And like I said, we have never taken a dime. I've never taken a dime from this watershed. I would love to just see this watershed. I want to see it flourish. My intent is for maybe possibly retirement and enjoying this watershed in my older age.
As a paid fishing guide?
Oh, they could pay me or not. I'm not concerned about monetary gain or chattels. I mean,
William, is there anything that you would like to add? You're on my screen. Was there something that you wanted to say?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, just a little background. I learned about this through correspondence a few months ago with Gerald Willis, attorney in Rutherford. And he sent me an email. I don't know if it's in your packet, which in any event, I forwarded it to Shannon or Dean or both. I can't remember. It basically tracks what they're saying here today. And along with that were the appeal documents of notice of appeal. I think it said signed by each of these gentlemen. And he said it a little different, but basically comport. I guess they told Mr. Willis that this was sort of being set up for something possibly to do in the future, but they weren't currently doing it, and hadn't accepted any payment or had never been paid, either one of them. And that one, I guess Mr. Mcgraw had something on his boat that would lead one to believe that was a guide or a commercial enterprise. And there was nothing on the Mr. Stepp's boat. So that's just what he told me about it. And it's being said today just because that's what I know about it. It's what I got from Attorney Willis.
Okay. Well, so clarify for me in case I misspeak here, but I believe these are two separate appeals, are they not? They're not a joint appeal.
That's correct.
So one is, they could be considered separately. One is for Mr. Mcgraw, one is for Mr. Stepp. That might be the better thing to do. Does anyone have any feelings about that?
I have one question, and I'm sorry I had a little bit of technical difficulty yet. I haven't Zoomed in a while. But Mr. Wilson and I had a subsequent correspondence back and forth regarding the fine. And he wanted to know if they would have to pay the fine. And I informed him that it was imperative that they pay the fines, while the appeal was pending. I don't know if either one of them did it.
To my knowledge, they have
can-
not. Dean, can you clarify that?
I've not received any notification of payment from either Mr. Stepp or Mr. McCraw.
And I also asked, he also asked if they could continue using their current regular or individual boating permission or license. I said, yes, if they paid the fine. So I had assumed that possibly those fines had been paid prior to today.
So
Mr. Stepp or Mr. McGraw, have either of you paid the fine, just so we can clarify?
I've
No.
not paid anything because I didn't do anything wrong.
Okay, thank you. I just want to clarify. Thank you. I didn't mean to interrupt you, William.
No, I mean, is like I told Dean, basically I got a ticket and found guilty. I didn't do anything wrong. So that's my whole thing through this. I mean, why should I pay a $1,500 fine when I didn't do anything wrong?
Do you fish on the lake, Mr. Stepp?
I've not.
You don't?
But yes, I grew up fishing on the lake. get my non-resident permit pretty much annually.
Okay, you still do that.
I've not.
When's the last time you did that? I guess is my question.
I've got one time Mr. Willis forwarded me an email that I could go back on the lake, and I've got the email that I can show you somewhere.
So you didn't have a 2021 non-resident
Yes.
permit for your boat?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
But I didn't go out there for X amount of time because basically Dean told me that I couldn't,
Correct.
not to be back on the lake.
I want to clarify one thing. I reread the rules before the meeting, and I don't, there's information in there that if fines aren't paid, you can be banned from the lake and I think prohibited from getting licenses, but it doesn't specifically say that you have to pay the fine as a prerequisite to the appeal. There's other consequences, but I knew that the commission had taken into consideration in the past, I think earlier this year in a case, that the fact that a fine had not been paid by the date of the appeal. And that was one of the factors that came into play. And maybe Dean can clarify this. I don't think it specifically states that it is a prerequisite to at least having your appeal heard, but there are other things that are listed that can happen at the discretion of the Marine Commission in situations where fines remain unpaid or never paid. Did I state that right, Dean?
Yes.
So we will not hold it against anybody if they have not paid their fine prior to the appeal, is what I'm hearing, William. That's not a requirement. So it has been something that the Marine Commission looked for in the past. So is there any other discussion? Are there any other questions?
I do. I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Okay, go ahead.
I guess this is to Mr. Mcgraw. This person that did this website and stuff, how did he get involved in this? Michael?
Well, he actually, I met him through somebody that knows a lot of you people, is who I got recommended by. And I told him that this was something that I wanted to do in the future and gave him pictures.
Someone local?
No, sir, he's in Asheville. It's Raven Designs, a guy named Michael, and he did draft my account, which I'm not really like that. He should
given him permission. Had you given him permission to draft your account?
No, sir, I absolutely did not, but I didn't do anything about it because I'm just not that kind of person.
I have a question. Can I interject? I'm sorry, Commissioner Kilby. I'll ask that in a minute. How did he get your card number to build? Did you pay by card for him to build your website?
Well, he was wanting my card and he was gonna start to build it, but there was never any permission to make that go live ever.
How much did he debit your card for? What was the charge?
$650.
Did you go to the bank to get your money back?
Actually, it was only $650. That's not, it's just, no, I don't care about that.
Okay.
No, I mean, what do you go? I mean, do you go to court for somebody over $650? I don't know.
You don't have to go to court. You can just contest the charge with your bank, and they handle it. Doesn't involve court. I mean, it could, but
Yeah.
I think what Mr. Kilby's asking you about was just contesting it with your bank.
Okay. Yeah. If that's something that I need to do, then I can definitely do that. If that's needed to be done, because he did do that without my permission. And also he put Fred's, which Fred should absolutely not even be in this meeting because he had absolutely zero to do with it. I had the pictures.
What was your intent in sending those pictures of Fred, who has no involvement with your future plans to have a fishing guide?
Well, I mean, if you're fishing and you got somebody with other fish, you know, people like to see fish, you know. But Fred absolutely did not give any permission, and I did not give, Fred never gave me permission to share. But also I told this guy, Michael from Raven Design, this was not supposed to go live. He was not supposed to draft that. You know, I've had a boat that says Lake Lure Fishing Company. You've seen it. I rode by your place, John. It's been on there for 7 years, you know, never had a problem. Never got.
Could I ask you one question, Mr. Mcgraw? Could you tell, so you filed this with the Rutherford County in 2019, assumed business name certificate. And then the website was at least posited by you that you'd like to have it set up, and you gave him the pictures. So can you clarify for me or help me understand better, at what point would you consider that you had a business?
Well, in order to, I would think that you would have to have a bank account and actually get paid services and liability.
Okay, thank you.
That's just my opinion. I'm from Lake Lure. I don't really know any better. That's just my opinion.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, I got
Any
a
other-
question for, I guess for William. William, I think what the citations were written for here would be operating a boat in a commercial manner without a commercial license. Is that right, Dean?
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Since there's one boat, does the citation go with the boat and the boat owner, or does it go with anybody who uses it? How's our ordinance written to cover that?
I would actually have to research that just to see. I don't know what the exact wording is on that.
What's your thoughts on it, William?
I think it's, well, each person that's doing it or purports to do it or holds himself out as having a commercial operation on the lake is individually responsible. And getting back to what the mayor was getting at a while ago, and I don't know if it was a question to me or just a suggestion to you all, but anyway, when it comes time to make a decision in these matters, I do think you need to take them up one at a time. I don't think they're so intertwined. I don't think it's wrong to have the hearing conducted the way we're doing it. But when you are ready to decide, you decide on each individual that's been cited.
And I was alluding to the fact they're listed as two different items on new business.
That's
They're
correct.
not listed jointly. So we should consider one and then the other, I think.
I would think that in Mr. Stepp's defense, I guess, he's not applied for a commercial license like Mr. Mcgraw did. So I don't, is there anything, Dean, otherwise that indicates that Mr. Stepp intent was to have a commercial fishing guide service?
No, Mr. McCraw did not file for a commercial permit on the Lake Lure. Neither one of them did this year.
Yeah, I was talking about the business
County.
County business things, what I was
Okay.
implying.
Yes, the only reason why I put the charge on Mr. Stepp also is I do know Fred Stepp has been a fishing guide on our lake before, a licensed fishing guide on the lake before. And then when I pulled the website up, you've got the papers in front of you showing the detail of both of them being in the business according to the website. So I charge both of them with violating or as operating commercial businesses without being commercially licensed.
So Mr. Stepp has had a commercial fishing guide license on the lake before.
Yes, sir.
How many years, do you have any idea how many years he did that?
It's been several years, several different years that he's been on the lake as a fishing guide before. He's been in our commercial model several times. I don't know the exact number, but he's been in our commercial model several times.
Yeah, so with that, I have a question. Mr. Stepp, you have a boat, right, with a non-resident sticker on it?
Yes, sir.
All right, so you have, I haven't seen a picture of the boat, but you have a separate boat.
Yes, sir.
And are you a registered guide for the North Carolina Fish and Wildlife Service?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. McGraw, are you a registered guide with the Fish and Wildlife Service?
Yes.
And Mr. McGraw filed with the county for a business license, but Mr. Stepp, you did not, you had documentation with Rutherford County to get a business?
No, I haven't. I never followed through with it.
Okay.
You know, I've guided some on other lakes, but to be quite honest with you, I gave up at Lake Lure because you can't take people out fishing there, or even yourself, until 10 o'clock at night for wake boats.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's one of those things. You know, I went through took the proper steps to become a guide on the lake. And at the time, the actual guide permit was cheaper than the annual permit somehow. So that's, to be honest with you, that's probably why 90% of the people that bought the guides permit bought it, because it was cheaper than the regular annual permit.
Okay. Dean, we should look into that probably. Any other questions? I mean, we have been discussing them jointly. We will break down to address each one individually, but I mean, so far we've been doing it as jointly. Are there any other questions for anyone, for Mr. McGraw or Mr. Stepp, or for William or Dean?
I have one final comment I meant to say a while ago, and it's probably not particularly pertinent, but the fictitious name certificate, I think the primary reason for that is when you're so that someone can look up and find out who the person is. It's sort of it's when you're doing business as, and it's a requirement for several different things. I think to have a bank account, to file a lawsuit in the name of the doing business as name, and certain other things. So that is a prerequisite to beginning or starting a business. If you're going by a name that's not your own.
Any other comments?
Is this something, William, that we should have our deliberation in closed session for this? Would it be in the legal matter, or what's the process?
I don't think so. No, I don't know of a justification really off the top of my head for going in. I don't think we've done that in the past, or at least in my tenure, I don't think we have.
Okay.
In that case, would the council like to address item A, the request from Mr. Fred Stepp to appeal a civil citation? If we're going to make a decision on it, we'll need to make a decision on each one independently. Does the council need more time to consider this? Are we not at a point today where we want to make a decision? We have to do one of the other.
I mean, at this point, I honestly don't know what else you guys need from me.
Okay.
I mean, that's why I was so upset when I had my meeting with Dean.
Okay, well, given the information that we have, is the council ready to make a decision about the request for Mr. Fred Stepp to appeal a civil citation?
I'd like to ask Dean another question if I can, please.
Certainly.
Dean, have you heard anything here today that changes how you feel or anything in these two issues?
I do not. I still stand behind my decision to issue the 2 citations for what I done. From the evidence that I pulled up, that's what I feel like has happened.
So after Dean, basically after the person that's responsible for the website told you that I had nothing to do with it, like I did, you still feel that I'm guilty?
I don't feel that you're guilty, Fred. I just feel like that's a point that you need to take up with the man who done something against your knowledge. That's
Okay, so if I build a website tonight and I put your picture on it without your permission, I mean, this is, it's like I said, I really don't know what else I need to do. I'm not going to sue Clay over it. He didn't do it maliciously. But if the person that's responsible for having the website built is telling you that I had nothing to do with it, I mean, what else do I need to prove or do to prove my innocence? I mean, seriously, what are we talking about here, guys?
We're in the Marine Commission. I'm not going to deliberate with you. I stated what the commissioner asked me to state, and that's just where I stand on it.
Is there any more thoughts or questions from any of the commissioners, anyone on the council?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand it. Dean, I think that from what I've seen, I think what you have, your research and your photographs and all, I think that Mr. Mcgraw is clearly in violation. I've got some question about Mr. Stepp. Do we have anything that indicates that he was that he was acting as a fishing guide on Lake Lure, other than just his pictures on this website? Did anything on the website, maybe that I don't see here, indicate to call him or have reviews that mentioned him or anything like that?
Yes, sir. On page 16.
Okay, hold on. Let me get there. Yeah. Yeah, I see. Clay Mcgraw and Fred Stepp. Yeah. Okay.
If you'll read through that narrative, and then you can also read the bottom line there. It includes both names again.
Yeah.
It's not showing him as a person on the lake that's just got fish. It's actually naming him out on the website.
I see. I had I read all this a couple of nights ago, and I'm thank you for refreshing my memory. You're absolutely right there. It does mention him. So I think that unfortunately both these gentlemen are in clear violation of our ordinance here. If someone put their website up that shouldn't have, the recourse would be against them and not or maybe if Mr. Mcgraw had the website done and without Mr. Stepp's permission, maybe, you know, the issue.
That's correct. I did not have his permission. He had absolutely nothing to do with it. Fred Stepp did not have anything to do with it.
So you're going to cover.
I did not have his permission.
Okay.
So that's my question. If the person responsible for having the website put up is telling you that they didn't have my permission and I didn't have any part of this, the guy that built the website
never spoke with me. How am I getting issued citation and still being involved in this at all? It's just like I said, I could go pay somebody to build a fishing guide website and go to each one of your social media pages and write whatever I want to about you. And does that make you guilty?
It would make you civilly liable. And, people can say anything, but we have to go by what we have as hard evidence. And the hard evidence, I'm afraid, doesn't, it does support that you're both in violation here.
The hard evidence is the guy responsible for building the web page is telling you that he did not have my permission to do that.
And I did not.
Everybody in this meeting can hear Clay telling you that he did not have my permission to add me to that website. The person that built the website never contacted me. To me, that's pretty much all the evidence you need.
So I think, thank you for that, both of you. I'm not trying to cut you off, but I think we all have heard you when you said that this time and the times before that.
Okay.
That your assertion that you were unaware. I think unless we are at a point where we need to make a decision about whether we are at a point where we can make a decision independently on these two appeals, or whether we need more time to deliberate. Do I have any feedback from any of the council members on which way they want to go? Or are we ready to make a decision on these two appeals?
Dean, do you have anything at all to add?
Say again?
I do.
I was asking
I do
Dean
not.
if he had anything to add.
I do not.
Okay. No.
So because that's the way it's listed under our business, we will go first to the request from Fred Stepp to appeal a civil citation because he's listed first. Okay, is that agreeable? Everyone on the council agreeable to that?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to either accept the appeal or deny the appeal from Mr. Fred Stepp for the civil citation that he was issued?
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion that we deny the request from Michael Clay Mcgraw to appeal civil citation number 001052.
Okay, excuse me, I was actually doing Fred Stepp first because he's listed as number A.
Oh, okay. Well, let's go to
Do
that.
you wish to rephrase that or?
Yeah. I move that we deny the request from Mr. Fred Stepp to appeal citation number 001051.
Is there a second?
I will second it. More.
All in favor? You'll have to, because it's soon, you'll have to state your name, please.
Bryant, aye.
Furio, aye.
More aye.
Then the request for Mr. Fred Stepp to appeal the civil citation is unanimously denied. We will move on to B, item B, request from Michael Clay Mcgraw to appeal a civil citation. Do I hear a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that we deny the request from Mr. Michael Clay Mcgraw to appeal civil citation number 001052.
Is there a second?
More will second.
All in favor, please state your name.
Bryant, aye.
Furio, aye.
More aye.
Then the request is unanimously denied for the appeal from Mr. Michael Clay Mcgraw to appeal his civil citation. Thank you very much. We will then move on to item number C, new business, which is discussion regarding the concession for the Lake Lure Tours opening of the beach in the winter season. And Patrick, I believe, will default to you for that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So when Lake Lure Tours renewed their concession agreement for their next term with the town, we included in that a caveat that the beach would be open postseason for residents and visitors to relax along the sand and enjoy and walk along the shoreline. Typically 2 weeks after Labor Day, the Friday 2 weeks after Labor Day, through 2 weeks before Memorial Day each year, so that people could enjoy a little extended time on the sand, but not in the water. This was a test run that we did last season, and what we found is that there's a public safety compromise that has come about with this. The old adage, give someone an inch, they'll take a mile, definitely plays into this. Folks would get into the water on a hot day like today, even though the beach is not open. Because it is town property, Lake Lure Tours is required to have lifeguards on duty for public safety. And when there are not lifeguards on duty, having visitors and residents in the water at the beach specific, being town property, is a matter of public safety. And there were multiple instances from tours and even from myself working at the hotel, seeing people out where I'd have to call our police force out multiple times until it got cold enough where people would not get in the water to come over and address the issues of trespassing or violating the policies at the beach area itself. In the coming years, we have some big infrastructure projects coming up, and we are going to have a lake level lowering that's going to be facilitated over the course of the next several years. So I'd like to have a conversation with council regarding adjusting the concession agreement with Lake Lure Tours to allow for the sand behind the locked gate to be open when the water is lowered in the winter season for people to enjoy that location. But if the water is at full pond, it is not advisable to allow guests to meander along the water, especially as we come into the early fall season when the water is still a little warm and the weather can be favorable for swimming in that location, and adjust the concession agreement to match the lake drawdown schedule each year, so that when there is no water, the sand can be open for people to enjoy the beach area, but they would not have the opportunity to swim and be a harbinger of public safety, or have to involve the police department if they're violating the swimming policy set forth in the agreement itself.
Thank you, Commissioner Bryant. Are there any questions for Commissioner Bryant? So if I understand, basically, it would be whenever the lake is down, according to the drawdown schedule, then public would be allowed to use the sandy beach.
Correct. Yes, and and really yeah, and the ask is just for this year. The drawdown schedule is set for November 1st, which is solid, but it will vary a little bit based on how the project moves forward over the winter time. We might be ahead of schedule and the lake may come back up. So in the interest of public safety and to keep our police force focused on lake operations and on the streets versus just running people out of the water, because it happens to be a nice day at the end of September, is the reason for this ask. And in the matter of public safety, the town does have, Lake Lure Tours has their own insurance policy, but the town does too. And it's required to have lifeguards if people are allowed to swim at the beach area. And that is the reason for adding this today.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the council for Mr. Bryant?
Madam Mayor, I think Patrick's probably dead on this. I've seen people there, people in the water, the police having to be involved. I'm asking, do we need to get input to the police chief, input from Dean as a lake manager about how they feel about this situation before we make a decision?
We may very possibly may have. Dean, are you still with us?
I am, and I've also had conversations with the chief about this same topic of it consuming officers' time of having to run people out of the water. Another thing that I'd like to address with this thing here. I don't have any prohibition with this because it is a problem. But one of the other problems along with this is the new dock system that, not the new marina, but the new dock system put out in front of the beach. I've run off more than several people this year where they're coming in from the lake and docking at that dock that runs parallel with the beach. And then they're walking up the sidewalk and enjoying the beach and water from that side. So there needs to be some type of signage or gate or something to stop them from coming in that way too, if this is the route we go or whatever we need to do.
Okay, thank you, Dean. Any other questions for Dean or any other comments from any of the commissioners?
I've got a question. This is Clay.
No,
I don't know.
Somebody
if
needs
you
to
guys
mute him.
saw me earlier when you guys were
Oh,
talking.
Mr. McGraw, we're actually on a different topic right now. So this is a topic just limited to the Lake Lure Tours
Okay,
concession.
I didn't.
Thank you.
All right, I'm sorry, what are there any other of the commissioners have any comments or questions?
I would just like to add, I think the issue is folks are going in the water, swimming, and that's the big issue. So with the signage, which I agree with Dean, we ought to have in the off season, in the shoulder season, which swimming is never allowed because there are no lifeguards on station. No swimming and no access at this point. I think signage will help with a lot of this, but allowing walking during the drawdown period where people aren't going to go in the water anyway, I think makes sense.
I also think we have the same issue overside the ABC store where the kayaks access the water all the time. We have people, I see people in there swimming, waiting all the time. So I think we may have to really consider looking at the signage to make it more, because we have signs there about permits for kayaks, and there's that most people ignore that totally.
Yep, and there is signage, Commissioner DiOrio, at the beach that that goes up in the wintertime. It says no swimming, no pits, no fire pits, no bonfires, that sort of thing. And there are some on the backside of the river channel, at North Park also. I don't know that there is one near the ABC store, so we could add one over there. You know, the public safety piece, it's really the biggest concern there. And we have a lot of community members who, you know, want to be able to utilize and access the space, and that is understandable. But the general public doesn't have a full understanding of the how or the why that the gate is closed for public safety and to, you know, adhere to the policy and the rules. So that's really we gave it a good test run last year, and a couple of good days. If it rains, or if it's chilly, no big deal. But there were a couple of like 85, 90 degree days like today, and it was a constant issue with the general public. They just don't pay attention. They just think it's open. Dates are posted by tours. They're on the wall at the marina. They have QR codes so they can see the dates that are open. But people just don't seem to pay attention to them. So I want to protect the town's asset and also our liability with our insurance and our concessionaire. So.
All right. Are we at a point where we want to make a motion about this, or do we want to just recommend that there is further discussion about amending the concession agreement with Lake Lure Tours for opening of the winter beach? Are we ready to make that decision now? Is it that finite?
Madam Mayor, I have a question. So any concession agreement we have basically is between two parties. And so this is an agreement between the town of Lake Lure and Lake Lure Tours. So we're having a discussion about outcomes that we're hoping to achieve. Where is Lake Lure Tours on this issue?
And that was my point. I think we sort of had a philosophical discussion about it, but it is a concession agreement. So I guess the next step would be, in my opinion, would be for Lake Lure Tours to meet with the town of Lake Lure to discuss this. Would that be correct from what you're thinking, Shannon?
Well, it's between two parties. And so Commissioner Bryant, you're representing.
In this instance, Shannon, I'm representing as a commissioner. The manager of Lake Lure Tours came to me last week and mentioned this to me and voiced her concerns. You know, we are partners in sister businesses, so there's a middle ground here. But I brought this as a commissioner into Mayor Pritchard's point as a philosophical reference, because the concession agreement is between Lake Lure Tours and the town of Lake Lure. But the manager of the business brought it to my attention and voiced concerns, and I brought it tonight as a commissioner to you all to have an open discussion, and then the follow through behind that is likely going to be where the motion would stand, is to perhaps request to authorize the town and Lake Lure Tours to revisit this specific item. It originally was a citizen request and we implemented it, but it's caused issues with the police department, with the marina operation near the ABC store. People think the lake is still open access just because it's perceived incorrectly as being just open to the public. And that was the concern. So I wanted to bring it more as a request to talk about how to amend this with them, knowing that the council did not, we approved the concession agreement. We did not negotiate that in any way. So, but I did tell the manager at Lake Lure Tours I would bring it to council and management's attention tonight.
So correct me if I'm wrong, I would guess that the next step would be if Lake Lure Tours wishes to renegotiate their concession agreement, they would need to then address that with the town of Lake Lure. Would that be the consensus opinion about where we are now?
Shannon,
So-
that would be my understanding.
I don't see that the Marine Commission can make any particular judgment on this because they're not a party. They're not either party, the town of Lake Lure or not. So
Correct.
Yeah.
I think we can authorize the town of Lake Lure representative to go into a discussion with Lake Lure Tours in order to amend the agreement. Is about all we can do.
I think in the past, I'm sorry to butt in. I think in the past, when there's been an amendment to the concession agreement, it was, for instance, staying open a little later or on weekends. It's gotten to the table, so to speak, by a written request or proposal from the concessionaire or Lake Lure Tours. And it sounds like they may have indicated an interest. So I think probably the next thing, or one appropriate way or thing to do, is to invite them to do that again like they have in the past.
If I may, I think the simplest way to do this, if this is something that the concessionaire would like, it probably would be appropriate for the concessionaire to propose language and send that to the town council for consideration with the representative that can explain their interest.
okay, do I hear a recommendation from anyone that we do that?
I'll make that recommendation that we direct the manager, I guess, of the beach and Lake Lure Tours to make a formal request for that and what they desire.
All right, is there a second?
I can second that more.
All right, all in favor?
Brian, aye.
Furio, aye.
Kilby, aye.
Or I.
Then unanimously recommendation passes, the recommendation for the agent or manager of Lake Lure Tours to open a discussion about amending the concession for the opening of the beach in winter season.
Man, just one final comment. There's no hope of getting that done this year then, right? Because it'll never come to us again by November 1st. So we're gonna have to, this will have to be for the future. Does everyone recognize that?
Does that request go to Marine Commission or Town Council?
As I understand it, Commissioner Kilby, when we approve the concession agreement for that,
Right.
it goes to Town Council, not Marine Commission
Oh,
specifically.
okay. All right.
Right.
So it can go before Town Council. Yeah. My conversation with the manager at Lakewood Tours happened offline hours because I do work professionally in some role with the sister company, but there was offline hours with them. Just kind of voicing some concerns with the issues that they had, and knowing that they have a close relationship with the police force, with having such a large volume of the general public every summer, especially during the day. They tend to have a lot of interaction with our law enforcement here, and it seemed to be an item that was of concern coming into the fall season based on last year's results. So.
Okay, thank
Thank
you
you all
so much,
very much for your
Commissioner.
feedback, and I think that it looks like a great move, a path forward. So
Thank you, Patrick, so much. That being our final item under new business, we have no other business. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So
Madam Mayor,
moved.
I make a motion, we adjourn Marine Commission. Commissioner Brown.
Oh. A
Been
second.
moved, second.
All in favor?
Bryant, aye.
Aye.
Kobe, aye.
Aye, or aye.
Then we stand adjourned, and we will give Olivia enough time for us to, we are already at 5:05. So as soon as we are ready, we can log back in on the Zoom link for the town council meeting.
It's the same link, isn't it?
It's not the same link.
Oh, okay.
I'm about to start the other one, so I'm going to end this one if that's okay.
It is. Thank you so much, Olivia. You did a wonderful job.
No problem.